David Priess, The President's Book of Secrets. The Untold Story of Intelligence Briefings to America's Presidents from Kennedy to Obama. In The President's Book of Secrets. The Untold Story of Intelligence Briefings to America's Presidents from Kennedy to Obama, David Priess offers a fascinating inside look at the President's Daily Brief, PDB, a crucial intelligence document tailored for the highest office. The book explores the birth of the PDB during President John F. Kennedy's administration, how it has evolved over time, and its role in shaping major events and decisions in American history. From presidents grappling with daily security threats to the lessons learned and challenges presented by monumental events, such as the Cuban Missile Crisis, the PDB has remained a critical tool for each subsequent administration.
The birth of the Presidential Brief. Learn about the origins of the President's Daily Brief, PDB, and how it revolutionized the exchange of intelligence information between the President and the intelligence analysis community. In 1961, the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, sponsored a failed invasion of Cuba by a paramilitary army that led President John F. Kennedy to demand better daily intelligence reports. This demand gave rise to the President's Daily Brief, PDB. The CIA published the first iteration of the PDB, known as the President's Intelligence Checklist, on June 17, 1961. Compared to previous intelligence reports, the checklist was written in a more conversational language, which generated unprecedented interaction between the President and the intelligence community. The PDB officially debuted on December 1, 1964, and quickly caught the attention of President Lyndon Johnson. The PDB was distributed to only a select group of authorized readers, but this allowed the inclusion of sensitive intelligence sources. During the Cuban Missile Crisis in October 1962, Kennedy relied heavily on other sources for information because the checklist did not mention the type and purpose of the Soviet arms shipments to Cuba. The President's Daily Brief revolutionized the exchange of intelligence information between the President and the intelligence analysis community. Its birth was a result of the national security crisis and the need for better daily intelligence reporting. The President's Daily Brief. Under President Lyndon Johnson, the Office of Current Intelligence, OCI, stopped producing the checklist and a biweekly intelligence review. The CIA then started producing the President's Daily Brief, PDB, which Johnson became an avid consumer of. Despite its success, the PDB did fail to warn Johnson of the Tet Offensive that happened in Vietnam. Nixon's grudge against the CIA. Richard Nixon and Henry Kissinger had long-standing resentment towards the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, restricting their access to sensitive policy deliberations and valuing unfiltered intelligence over CIA analyses. When the CIA Director William Colby created a CIA report, the National Intelligence Daily, NID, Nixon and Kissinger intended to keep it secret while limiting distribution of the President's Daily Briefing, PDB, to only a select few. Their grudge towards the CIA led to several inaccuracies, with the analysis in the October 6, 1973, issue of the PDB being wrong about Egypt and Syria's military intentions towards Israel. Nixon's resentment towards the CIA stems from the election campaign of 1960, where he believed that the CIA supported Kennedy's claim of a missile gap that ultimately cost him the election. Presidential Intelligence Briefings. The U.S. President's access to intelligence has evolved over time. President Ford preferred to review the Presidential Daily Briefing, PDB, alone, while Carter limited its distribution and requested a simpler format with wider margins for note-taking. National Security Advisor, Henry Kissinger had a particularly dominant role in the PDB process, while George H. W. Bush, as CIA Director, requested direct access to the President. These insights suggest that the PDB is a flexible tool that adapts to the preferences and working style of different U.S. presidents. Presidential Daily Briefings and National Security Decisions. The book reveals the different approaches of U.S. presidents to Presidential Daily Briefings, PDB, and their implications on national security decisions. While Reagan was content with the PDB format and generally delegated security decisions, Colin Powell was surprised at this. The book also shows how the CIA could have done better in predicting the Soviet Union's downfall if they had better predictive models of the Soviet economy. William Webster, who became the CIA director during the Soviet Union's collapse, had little idea that the USSR had any weaknesses and was therefore ill-prepared. George H. W. Bush and the Presidential Intelligence Briefings. President George H. W. Bush prioritized the physical security of the Presidential Daily Briefing, PDB, and limited its distribution. He had a more intimate relationship with the Daily Personalized Intelligence Report than any of his predecessors. When Iraq invaded Kuwait in 1990, conflicting estimates of battlefield gains between the CIA and U.S. Central Command ignited an interagency dispute, leading to a public discussion of the PDB. Presidential Intelligence Briefings. The article explores the use and distribution of the President's Daily Brief, PDB, during the Clinton and Bush administrations. While Clinton actively read the PDB, Bush not only read it but also invited people outside his administration to briefings. The PDB article, Bin Laden Determined to Strike in U.S., appeared a month before the 9/11 attacks, raising questions about its purpose and effectiveness. The article also highlights the broader distribution of the PDB during the Clinton administration and the evolving use of the PDB as top-level interest in briefings fades. Understanding the PDB and the intelligence community. The National Commission on Terrorist Attacks upon the U.S. was created in 2002 to investigate the circumstances surrounding the 9/11 attacks. The commission asked for President's Daily Brief, PDB, articles from January 1998 through September 20, 2001, and eventually got them. However, the content of the PDB and its distribution appears only in footnotes of the final report. CIA analysts had been informing policymakers about international terrorism for decades before September 11. The commission also found that claims of Hussein having stocks of weapons of mass destruction, WMD, in Iraq were false after the 2003 invasion by the U.S. and coalition forces. A group was formed to investigate the reason behind the failure of these estimates. The Intelligence Reform and Terrorism Prevention Act was passed in December 2004 to change the intelligence establishment, authorize the Director of National Intelligence to oversee the intelligence community, and to serve as the primary advisor on intelligence to the President and the National Security Council. The first Director of National Intelligence took responsibility for the production of the PDB and attended daily briefings. Obama and the PDB. In 2008, President-elect Barack Obama received his first PDB and later read it himself instead of sitting through briefings. He also received a supplement called the Economic Intelligence Brief. The PDB remains a crucial document for any president, and in 2012, Obama read it on an iPad, the first paperless presentation in its history. The PDB's mission is to speak truth to power, and anyone who dismisses it does so at great peril.
Overall, The President's Book of Secrets chronicles the significant role the President's Daily Brief has played in American history, shaping the decisions and actions of presidents from Kennedy to Obama. While the contents and presentation of these briefings have evolved significantly over the decades, they have remained a pivotal source of intelligence, offering the highest level of analysis to the U.S. president. As we peer behind the curtains of the PDB's origin and development, we are reminded of its enduring nature and the ways in which it continues to adapt to the needs of the president and the changing world landscape.